CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris joins me now to talk about all this. Steve, what do you make of this piece that is just out on the Bloomberg View, penned by Michael Bloomberg?
Well, a couple of things. First, it was interesting his sort of harsh criticism of Trump and Cruz, very harsh criticism of Trump and Cruz, and suggested that throwing the election into the hands of Congress to decide, a Republican Congress would eventually elect Cruz or Trump, and he definitely didn't want to see that happen. I also thought it was really interesting, frankly, that I'm not sure anybody expected at this point that he would do this. This was very clear when he first started floating this idea that it was sort of predicated on the fact that this would be a Trump or Cruz versus Bernie Sanders election. And I think we've seen Sanders stumble a little bit with Clinton looking like she's going to get the nomination of the Democratic Party. I think that closes the window a little bit for Bloomberg in the sense that, he felt, I think, that he would have had a better opportunity to take some votes away, or to actually get some votes if both Sanders and or Trump or Cruz were in this race.
Yeah, Steve, in this piece that Michael Bloomberg writes, he says he's known Donald Trump for many years and they've been on friendly terms, but he goes on to say, and quote, he's run the most divisive and demagogic presidential campaign I can remember, preying on people's prejudices and fears. He also says that his candidacy could lead to the election of Donald Trump or Senator Ted Cruz. Explain that for our viewers.
Well, he's saying that that he would get some electoral votes if he ran, and makes the argument that that would prevent one of the other candidates, whoever the Democratic and Republican nominees are, from getting enough electoral votes to claim victory, and then it gets thrown into Congress for them to decide who would be President of the United States. And since Congress is run by Republicans now, the thinking is it would be the Republican nominee, whether that would be Trump or Cruz, or at least those are the two names he throws out there. I think the reality of it is that polling showed that that Bloomberg didn't have much of an opening anyway, and if it was Trump versus, say, Clinton, that Bloomberg would likely take votes away from Hillary Clinton, and in that sense would then hand the election over to whoever the Republican is. If it was Trump versus Sanders, which is, I think, one of the ideas that Bloomberg was talking about when he floated this, the thinking was that there might be more room for a middle-of-the-road candidate, as both Trump and Sanders, at least in his mind, are on the extreme ends of each of their parties.
Steve, also, and we were talking about the timing of this, in the piece he says the deadline to answer is now because of ballot access requirements. Is this really the cutoff date for him?
I mean, it's close. He'd been talking about, since they've floated this, that he would have an answer early to mid-March, and that's where we are right now. And you look at ballot access requirements, it's very, very difficult for anybody who's not a Democrat or Republican to start getting on ballots and to get on many ballots around the country if they're not tied to a political party. There's a lot of signature requirements. There's a lot of money that's involved in getting those signatures. And Texas would have been the first big one. The deadline is early May. You need 79,000 signatures to get on the ballot, but usually what that really means is you get about 50% more than what you need because there's going to be somebody challenging those signatures. And so to try to get 120,000 signatures in a state like Texas, it's a daunting task, an expensive task, and you got to get going on that. You can't just do it a week or two beforehand. So, I think this is about the time where the deadline hits to get on the Texas ballot, or at least to try to get on the Texas ballot. And, they had said this from the beginning. It was going to be early to mid-March, and that's where we are.
CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris in Washington. Steve, thanks so much for helping us break this down. Thanks. Again, the news that Michael Bloomberg has just announced that he will not run for the presidency of the United States.